All right, welcome back to the Sparkus Project. We're actually going to talk arm wrestling this time, so I'm sure all 35 of our arm wrestling subscribing friends will be happy about that. Big East versus West 14 card coming up in a couple weeks here, and it's actually going to be in America, which I think is a great idea by Ingen. Start moving some of these big events around and not hosting them all in Turkey. They'll definitely get more eyes and probably save him some money, man. Having to pay all these East guys. Well, I guess it breaks even when you got all. He's going to have to pay for the other guys to come over. But regardless, John Brzezink's going to be pulling at this one. That's the first match I think we'll talk about. John Brzezink versus Leonidas. Who you got, Chris? What do you think about that one?
Oh man, I don't think this guy has earned the right to face John, but whatever. Um, he's formidable. A ton of side pressure, and it seems like he's got a solid wrist. Um, shit. I mean, you got to go with John. I mean, the guy's a stronger man. He's stronger than John, but John's obviously way more refined, and you got to believe John will pull it out. And if it goes into long matches, even despite John's age, I think he'll have more, stamina.
Yeah, there's no debate that John's the better arm wrestler out of these two. Leonidas is a lot younger, much healthier tendons. I mean, he doesn't have the wear and tear John does. But I think if the match even stops for a second, John will find a way to win. I think John winning depends on what form he comes in at. Like if he comes in depleted, like how he had been fasting and losing weight, he'll probably lose to this guy because this guy's clearly a beast strength wise. Like his win over Schoolboy was pretty impressive because he used some technique, but he basically just out muscled him. There wasn't a ton of technique, just way stronger. So John comes in at like 230 and looks solid and full. He'll freight train this guy because John will be stronger than too. John's strength it's still there when he's healthy and big. He just looked real depleted recently. Like he didn't look the same when he was fasting and he was like 200 pounds. He just looked weak and you're not going to be strong. And this dude's not fasting. This is a big, bulky motherfucker. Like Schoolboy's a big guy. They call him Schoolboy, but he's a grown ass man at this point. He's huge, and Leonidas is stronger than him. So I think it could be a good match. I see John. I can't bet against John. I see John coming out on top just because of the IQ and the ability.
Yeah, but that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if Leonidas wins. You can't be surprised.
No, I wouldn't be surprised either because he's kind of an unknown still. Like we saw him get his feet wet, and he looks really strong. Well, that's all we know is he's strong as fuck. So it's like, how do you bet against either of them, really? This guy's younger, strong as fuck, and he's going to be getting better. We assume he's taking it serious at this point, and he's going to be getting better. So,
yeah.
Next match on the card: Jerry Catterad and Alex Kurdecha. I'll take this one first. I think Alex is going to crush him. Jerry's flop press is legendary for what it is, but Alex is too big, too strong, too smart. I don't see any way Jerry beats him. Jerry can't hook him. And if he tries to flop wrist press, I think Alex will just bust his wrist back and then get behind it with his shoulder and smash him down. I don't see Jerry being in this match.
Yeah, historically, I don't like to bet against Jerry, but you're right. I mean, when the match stops, Jerry's going to try to flop wrist, and I think this guy with his height and he's got tremendous shoulder strength too, and incredible hand control. And I think his hands are so much larger that when he flops him, he can get like a full. Even in the strap, he'll get full control, like you holding a hard ball, right? He'll have full hand control, and you can just generally press right down. But it all depends on what form Jerry comes in at. But yeah, you have to go with Kurdecha. You have to.
Yeah, like you said, the hand's going to be such a. I think even when Jerry flops, Kurdecha's going to be able to just grab him and do this.
Yeah,
I think he'll just Jerry will end up flop like this. I don't see like I'm glad Jerry's coming back, but I feel like they're really throwing him to the fucking wolves right off the bat here. Alex is a dude who should be pulling Levon soon, so this is that's a bad matchup.
Yeah, but Jerry's he's a fucking icon. He's a legend, and I mean he's an underdog here. But I mean, let's face it. I mean, this can also go Jerry. If Jerry wins, I'm not shocked either because we don't know Alex Kurdecha. He's how fully committed, how consistent in his training. There's still there's still unknowns with him in terms of consistent application over time.
Yeah, from
He
what I've
should be
heard of,
way ahead.
uh,
Go ahead.
from what I've heard about Alex, he's all in. Like I think he honestly
I
like
think
quit
so.
his job full time. I think he's all in.
Yeah.
So I mean, he should. If he doesn't clean up Jerry, that's bad for him. Like
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
should win this for sure.
Yeah. He
And
should. He should.
we'll just go from one flop risk guy to the next. Camille Jablonski, it looks like I saw the poster, has a match against Michael Todd right-handed.
Right-handed. Yeah.
How do you think this plays out?
Michael Todd. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's going to be a garbage match, and he's the best garbage puller there is. And of course, he's not who he once was. But I mean, I see him winning. I mean, can he beat Devin? No. Can he beat Levon? No. But there's a big gap between those two and Jablonski. So yeah, Todd all day.
Yeah, I think Camille's left performs better than his right.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Michael's King's move will work great against Camille. It's gonna depend on the refing, really. If they're really strict on Michael, Camille will probably win. If they're really strict on Camille with his shoulder commitment across center and how he sets up, he'll probably lose. I mean, his press seems to be so strong. I'm not sure about the strength right-handed compared to left. His press seems to be so strong that if he gets behind it, he'll probably flatten out Todd's arm. But Todd's been training his bicep a lot, and we saw Todd's shoulder press recently. Like in his recent matches against Lars, shoulder press hit that might work easier for him because Camille's hook is a bag of garbage lit on fire. Like Medashenko made him look like a kid. Yeah. So if Todd shoulder commits and comes him over, like he'll probably beat him like that too. Honestly.
Yeah. Give me 100-1 odds. I'll bet that Todd suffers an injury.
100-1 during the match or before?
During
the match.
Severe injury, a tear or a break.
All right, 100-1 odds. If you're right, I'll give you 100. If you're wrong, you give me $1. What a bet for me.
Sure.
All right, we got this is actually a really good rematch. Paul Lynn and Rustam.
Yeah, this is for me. This is the most exciting one because when they first pulled, obviously it was curtailed because of the injury, and I think it was a tore pec. Was it pec or delt? I think it was.
Looked like a pec. Looked like he was grabbing it.
Yeah, and I didn't love Paul's reaction because Paul was like, the consensus from Americans was that he was going to win anyway, or it was a victory, but I guess it was a victory by forfeit. But this will tell a lot. Was it Paul just so strong that he ripped through him? Was Rustam off cycle? But for me, Paul has to be favored. His trajectory is much higher, so I think he's favored. But again, would not shock me at all if he loses to the Ukrainian. But this is for me is a fantastic, exciting matchup.
Yeah, I agree. This is the one I'm most excited about too. I don't think Paul's the favorite, honestly. I think this one at best is 50-50 because in the match they had, Rustam was kind of smacking him early, and then he got hurt. You know, he was kind of putting it to him, and then he got hurt. So I don't think Paul's the favorite for sure. I think a lot of them, like you and I, know who Rustam is. I think a lot of newer, like people in the past 5 years that got into arm wrestling, which a lot of people have. Arm wrestling's bigger now than it has been. Rustam's like a name they're not that familiar with. He's one of the goats at 200 pounds and under. Like he's legendary. So
top
I think
five, top yeah.
Yeah, I think he's a force, and he looked good. He looked good against Paul till he got hurt. So, I mean, I love Paul. I'm rooting for Paul. I'm rooting for all the guys from North America, but I think this one's going to be a close one. I think Paul in a rematch will do better too than he did the first time because now he kind of knows what to expect. I'm sure he saw this match coming after the way the first one ended. So I don't know who's going to win. I'm going to pick Paul because I want him to win, but I don't know. I don't know who's going to win this.
Yeah, and what did the injury do to Rustam? Right, like he's a side pressure guy. For sure, he's recovered, but I mean, what capacity? But if you have the top 5 pound for pound goats of arm wrestling in terms of their career and their eliteness, he's in the top 4. When he he gave up 30, 40 pounds to John during the what was it, Nemiroff Cup, or was it a super match? And he fucking handled John like, and he was giving up 30 pounds to John. Like this guy, uh, small hand, very small hand, um, tremendous wrist strength, uh, tremendous wrist curl, supination, flexion. Um, dude in his prime was an absolute stud. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think he's still a stud too. That's another crazy thing. He was so good, so young. He's not old.
No,
Like
no, no. I don't. He's not 40. He's
he
probably
might be.
36, 30.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's that 40.
I don't
You
think
think
he's
so?
that old, but he might be. But he was just so dominant and so good that like he might just not be coming into his prime. Like if he's healed up and who knows what PEDs he's taken. If he's really ready for this, like dude, he could be a problem for everybody. Like he's one of the baddest inside pullers of all time. I think him and Hutchings is a match that will happen eventually again because they pulled
Yeah.
before. But
He's an inside puller with pronation, which is incredible
yeah,
considering he has a short lever and a small hand. Um, yeah, yeah, no, phenomenal, phenomenal puller.
okay, another match to talk about for sure. This is another one. This is the opposite hand. I'm super excited for this one. Equally as excited for Lynn and Rustam. Paul Talbot against Vezra. I think I pronounced his name right. Vezra, the dude from
Yeah,
he lives in California, but he's killed everybody in North America at 242 and under left-handed. He's pulled multiple weight classes. He's a grinder. It's crazy side pressure. Paul Talbot though is a top roller with crazy side pressure. He's kind of an anomaly for top
yeah,
rollers, especially left-handed. He's a guy. He's a top roller that when he gets in the straps is even stronger. Like his getting tied to his top roll is wicked.
yeah,
I don't know who's going to win this either. I have no idea.
yeah. 2014 to 2000, maybe 18, 19. Paul Talbot's left under 200. Forget the fact that he could make a layer, like even up to 210, um, untouchable. During the wall era, um, and I think he pulled 165.
Yeah, he did.
The problem is because he's a strike first top roller versus a guy that if the match stops he will not lose. What's going to happen is he's going to hit right to his side strap, then or no strap, then it'll go to the strap. And I don't think he finishes this guy. This guy holds heavyweights all day. Heavyweight pullers with his left in his lock. His lock is just ridiculous. And I think Paul won't be able to finish. I think Paul will get what he wants. He just won't be able to finish. And generally, with this, is the top roller, the explosive top roller, generally has a little bit less stamina than the guy that lives in that position for minutes, right? So his lactic acid buildup, all that. So uh, unless the match doesn't stop, but I have a feeling the guy's going to stop the match, and Paul will eventually. He might win the first two matches, but each time, and eventually he'll get pulled back, and that'll be it. But that's how I see it going. But Paul's and what form, like I don't know how active Paul is, but
In
yeah,
practices.
his left, yeah, his left is under 200. It's when he's on, when he's serious, uh, it's untouchable in North America. But this guy's not really. He's North American, but he's not really North American.
No.
So this guy's a freak, an absolute freak.
Yeah, he's one of the most entertaining guys to watch.
Yeah.
Because like if you're anybody who's not an arm wrestler who's at a tournament and just sees this short, stocky guy pull every weight class and just have wars every round and still beat everybody, it's super impressive. One of the
Mm-hmm.
most entertaining watches. The thing about
Mm-hmm.
Paul too, like the match is gonna stop. There's no doubt it's gonna stop. Vezra will put the brakes on him, and it's gonna depend on what position he gets. Like what position, when does he get his purchase? You know what I mean? Like, is
Mm-hmm.
it out here? Is it up here? Is it like does he get a full cup? I can't imagine he's able to cut Paul. Paul, we've seen too have wars that he'll win. We saw
Mm-hmm.
him putting Pavlo to the breaking point in the straps,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
left-handed, and he was given up by 50, 60 pounds. And Pablo is ridiculously strong.
Mm-hmm.
Paul's lock is very strange. I don't know if a lot of people know this. Paul broke his left arm. He
Mm-hmm.
broke his left arm way up here. And I don't know if he didn't go to the doctors or if they just didn't do a good job. It didn't heal straight. Really,
Mhm.
he's got a big bow in his left arm. It doesn't really seem straight when he's standing. So I think part of his top roll lock in this, like once you're tied to that lock in the straps, I think part of it's just on that bone. Like
Mhm.
he's so strong when you're strapped to him. I I wish I didn't sound like such a pussy. I don't know who's gonna win this. This is like a top roll warrior, like because you don't
Mhm.
see a lot of top roll warriors, like guys that will grind. Paul will pull on a top roll with his wrist bent back and just stand up and still hold. Vezra is the ultimate inside warrior.
Mhm.
I'm just looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know
don't know
who's
if
gonna
my yeah, I don't know if my judgment's that off or that Engen has created a card with a lot of ambiguity. Because for me, there's not one match that we've talked about that for me is an easy win, like or a clear cut. These are all tough matches to predict.
Yeah, yeah. There's not slam dunks. There's guys who like should win on paper,
Uh,
but they're not slam dunks where I would want. I don't like the 100 to 1 odds. I don't even feel great about that dollar. Like these these aren't great. These aren't great matches to bet on for sure. I would not put a parlay on this if for any amount of odds. But
go.
that I'm gonna ride with Paul because Paul's super local. I know Paul well.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Where
hope
is it, by the
Paul
way?
wins.
Where is it? What state is it in?
He's in Ohio.
No, what state is the tournament in?
It's in Florida.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you're
Yeah,
not going.
we thought about going with a couple friends, but we're having like a big 20th anniversary at our business that day and giving out like stuff to customers.
Oh.
So we're gonna stay home, but I thought the tickets are like $100 to fly there from Michigan. So I thought about going.
What would a drive be? 30 hours? No, no less.
Close, pretty
Yeah,
much 24 hours, 22,
yeah,
24 hours, and it would cost more. It's $100 to
yeah,
fly.
for sure, for sure, for sure.
No, I thought about going. Okay, another match. This is like a rematch of a two OGs, Justin Bishop and Giannis.
Man,
I'm
that's a fucking gonna be a great match to watch.
I know, and
Wow.
I really I really want to say Justin's gonna win, but Giannis is like always locked in and so
Yeah.
dominant, and Giannis knows how to beat Justin too, which is part of the problem. I don't know if Justin's evolved enough. I hope he has. I love Justin Bishop. He's one of my favorite arm wrestlers. I, I feel like Justin has to win in a hook. I feel like he has to hook it. I
Man,
think top rope.
he's not gonna hook him.
That's what I.
Uh,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he has to hook him, but I don't think he will because I think top roll for top roll, Giannis's top roll is just so crisp and he's so familiar, and he'll just work millimeters till he beats him. But Justin's hand, Giannis has also said Justin's hand is not the way to attack him; it's to get on his bicep. But I think he can
mhm.
even still access it through a top roll. It's another match where you wouldn't want to bet. You wouldn't want to bet on this.
No, but for me, I'd be comfortable betting on Giannis, and I hope Justin wins. But and Justin, the fact that he's one or two states over, this is almost like home court advantage for him.
Exactly.
He might have friends, family there, his brother, and his dad. His dad's a big supporter of his, so it wouldn't shock me. But Giannis doesn't lose, like he doesn't lose, and he's never out techniqued, and I mean he reminds me of a Bulgarian named Goshevsky Svatan, just incredibly cerebral um, puller. It's never, ever, ever in a bad position or makes a bad move or a bad transition. Always, always, always super clean with his technique.
Yeah, Giannis, the Jedi is a really great name for him because that's like what he is. He's super analytical, super technical. Um, I mean, I'm betting. If I had to bet, I'd bet on Justin, but that's a bet with my heart, not with my mind.
Yeah,
I hope Justin wins. I really want Justin to win. Um, but Giannis is so fucking good, and he's so crisp. I'm rooting for Justin, and if I had to bet, I'd bet on Justin, but I wouldn't feel good about it. Would
okay.
not be comfortable.
Here's
And
this.
I hope
If you,
Justin's not comfortable. I
yeah,
hope Justin's taking it that way and training his ass off. He's made videos. He's been talking shit to Devin about
yeah,
how the West is going to clean up and this and that. So I hope he brings the fire and wins. That'd be a great win for Justin.
yeah. You give me 10,000 to 1 odds. Uh, I'll say that Justin twists his ankle walking to the table and forfeits the match.
No, no more you're crazy. But you have to parlay that with the other bet for $2. $2
Imagine,
payoff.
imagine explaining to your wife, Kelly, like, yeah, I owe Gabi $10,100. What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, he'll
I
got me
should.
$10,000 and a dick pic. It's parlay cash. All
Christ.
right, there's a female match too here, I believe. I cannot pronounce her last name for the life of me. It's uh, it's Elizabeth Mochek, and she's pulling Alexandra something Russian. I think it's Alex Toproll's girlfriend or fiance, but they're having a match, and I don't think Mochek can beat her. Mochek's a beast as far as strength and size and general masculinity, but I don't think she beats Alexandra technically or ability wise. She seems to lose to women who are really technical. And this, I mean, she's getting coached regularly. I think she beats her. What do you think, Chris?
I'm gonna get burned on an island on this one alone, but um, I've been spreading this theory out and talking to people, and I mean, I can't believe I'm going to say this because if I'm wrong, I'm the world's biggest douchebag. Uh, I think she's a dude. Like, man,
I know you're
I'm
talking
not.
about hey,
I'm not saying.
Alexandra.
I'm not saying. I'm not saying. Mochek isn't now currently her driver's license doesn't say female. I'm saying if you go back 12 years, that chick had a dick. And I apologize with my full heart if I'm wrong, but I've seen pictures um, and it doesn't make sense because I actually talked to your wife about this. It doesn't make sense because if that was the fact, female arm wrestling in America wouldn't allow it. We had that issue with Robin Chandler a decade plus ago, and they just at one point wouldn't allow it because it's just not fair. The biology, anyway, that's another conversation. So the fact that they allow it and she's ranked at she's a top ranked 154 female player in the United States tells me that I'm wrong, that she's legit, and she's a great athlete and she's kicking ass, and my judgment's all fucked up, but it's never gonna stop me from saying what I think, and I you know I see a dude. Um,
Yeah, I mean,
I can break it down, and I can break it down why this jawline stubble. I can break it down. Um, uh,
you can
just
break it down.
general.
We can break it down like a shotgun. I don't care.
But yeah, but I mean, what? And I've explained it to your wife, and she tells me I'm wrong. But fucking, I'm wrong. But um, I see a man. I see a man. Anyway,
Yeah,
but anyway, to get back on point, I don't know her opponent, his opponent. We'll go with her. We'll go with her. We'll follow the mainstream. Um, if we were up to 35 subscriptions, we're down to 17. I apologize, man. We just lost half of them. But but she is strong. Okay, I've actually in trying to analyze and answer my question, and no one's given me a concise answer. Um, I've watched her training, and she is strong as hell. And she has a strong arm wrestling arm, and she's doing a lot of good things. And I believe she's coached by I forget his name, but she has a strong, credible, formidable coach, and she takes the sport incredibly serious, and she has a background. Um, and I don't know the opponent. Uh, so all that being um, the reality, I have to go with her as a favorite because I just don't know the other one, and I know she's focused. And I did speak to her, and I spurred on a conversation to try to get an answer, although that didn't go very far, and I was lucky she didn't block me. But she's definitely serious about the sport. I think she's a dude.
all right. Yeah, point taken. Yeah, she's clearly serious about the sport. She can clearly literally trained her ass off. I think here I won't leave you on an island. I don't think she's a dude. Like if she was a dude, you're a scholar or you're some sort of fortune teller. Because she doesn't seem like a dude to me. I think she seems like a woman who's abused PEDs to the point of looking like a dude. because there's no denying. I mean, I'm sure she sees it. That's probably why she has to edit photos and stuff. Like she has to give herself an ass and Photoshop things in because when you abuse PEDs to the point she has as a woman, you're gonna get masculine features. And I don't care. Like if you want to do that, go ahead. Like juice it to the gills. But I don't think like I she's probably gotten a clit to the point where her husband or boyfriend has to hawk Tua on it and spit on it. But I don't think she's really a dude. I don't think she had balls at birth.
Gee, we could have let this go, but now you've engaged me in this full out debate, and I'm gonna counter debate with detail. Um, you see those pro bodybuilding women that are jacked, and I mean fucking PEDs, and they're jacked. I can still see they're women. There's no there's no part of me that thinks, oh man, they're a man. They're incredibly masculine because of the abuse of the PEDs. Their estrogen is nil and all that shit. But I can still see they're feminine. I look at her. Um, there's something, and you know, there's double. Now you can argue PEDs. There's also another thing, and of course, if I'm wrong, but whenever there's a gap in a relationship or a marriage, someone's a 9, someone's a 4. There's never a gap over 3. Like Kelly's obviously a 7, and you're a 3 there or a 4, but that's like there's
Whoa,
a
whoa, whoa.
natural.
Whoa, she's like a 9 and I'm like a 2. How dare you?
I was actually going to go with that, but I said I can't insult my podcast partner, so I had to bring her down and bring you up.
No, you
but,
boost. I know I know all the guys want to fuck her.
yeah.
That's okay. She's a smoke show.
But generally, that's not a big. There's this discrepancy, but it's not a mind blowing discrepancy. When there's a mind blowing discrepancy, it means that like you see this 25-year-old model with an 80-year-old man. It's cash. It bridges the gap. Money, wealth, inheritance will bridge the gap. I just think, man, there's such a discrepancy in her relationship that, you know, there's a history there, and he accepts her for who she is now after the surgery and all this stuff. I just all my alerts go off, and my instinct tells me that she once was a man. Nothing wrong with, for me. It's just if you're gonna make that transition, you cannot compete um, in a strength sport with women if you were once anatomically a man, because well, we can get again. That's a conversation we've already talked about, you know, a little bit. But I mean, tendons, bone structure, density. I just don't see a woman. And ironically, the first video I saw her, um, this is going to help my credibility. But the first video I saw her, I ended up messaging her to hit on her. Okay, I saw this she was doing a back row thing. And I'm like, what a fucking body. And then I started talking to her, and I started going into more videos, and I'm like, well, what am I doing here? This is a dude. And then I had a conversation with her, and she got really defensive. And usually, like if I say, let's say I didn't know you and I didn't know Kelly, and I messaged Kelly and I said, you're a dude. She's like, block, fuck off. Block. Like she's not going to spend 60 minutes debating to me that she's a woman. She's just bi. Like, but I got into this long debate with her, and she didn't block me. We ended up talking about training afterwards. There was a subtle threat from her coach, but towards me, but it's like all those things just reinforced my theory that I'm talking to a dude. And man, for all the women out there that train their asses off, if I'm wrong, I apologize to her specifically, but I got to be honest, and I don't see a woman.
Yeah, I don't. I don't think if I had to bet you'd have to give me 1,000 to 1 odds that she's a dude on this one, and I would bet a lot of money she's not a dude. I don't think she's a dude. Is she manly now? Yes. There's no debating that she's manly at this point. She looks like Jonathan Hoffman if he cut down to 190. Like she looks like a dude. Yes, but if she's happy with that and she has a man that accepts that and they're good together, I don't give a fuck. Like, why would she care if you or I think she's a dude? We're not ever gonna fuck her. Like, I don't. I'm like, if she's happy with where she's at, if she has a dude, go full board. Go get a beard, Mochek. Go get a beard, and then come in with chest hair and a beard and smash this Russian chick for the West Side. I don't care, but I don't think she was a dude. I think she's just a woman who's
Yeah,
gone
that's
gear
fine.
heavy and she wants to be a
Yeah,
world champion on all the sauce.
yeah. For me, it's Justin Hoffman and Zach Efron had a kid, and that kid got lit up with PEDs and grew up. That's what that kid looks like at 32 years old.
Not even a natty off of two men, just a two men baby with juice.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, I'll say this: she looks incredibly driven. She's not long. She hasn't been long in the sport, and since she's been in the sport, she's excelled. And let's assume I'm wrong, and she's an anatomical female. She has tremendous drive because she's come a long way in a short time. I love intangibles. I love drive. We talked about that, and she has all that. And assuming I'm wrong, under that pretext, she's doing amazing things, and I think she's going to kick her ass.
Yeah.
She's just on a hot.
Yeah, she got a lot of balls.
Yeah. Yeah. See, now I feel you're mocking me or patronizing me, but 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 yeah, I mean,
She does. She's got moxie. She's strong. I still think she's gonna lose. I think Alexander's still gonna top roll her. It's gonna go to they're gonna slip and go to the straps. The Russian's gonna top roll her, put her to the pad. She's gonna go home, inject Trent straight into her 3-inch clit, and then we'll see what happens from there.
and I was talking to a buddy the other day, and he says, "Any dates lined up?" And I said, "Yeah, I have a date. I might try to get the girl to come over, and she didn't want to come over, but maybe I can get her to go see the movie first." And then we started talking, and I started to my friend. He says, "Well, did you get the date confirmed?" And I'm like, "Yeah, well, not confirmed, but I'm not sure." There's a part of me that thinks she's a man. The more I look at her photos, and then we're like Facebook Messenger, and I look into her profile, I'm like, I think she might be a dude. And he's like, I showed the picture to him, and he's like, yeah, one of these pictures, a few of the pictures tells me she might be a dude. And my friend goes to me like 10 years ago, you were dating sevens and strictly female. Now we're like deducing whether or not the girl you're going to go to has a dick, and we're not sure you're still not going to go on that date. It's like, man, you've fallen so far off what you were 10 years ago. And I'm like, well, anyway, just not being certain for sure, I've canceled the date. But it's like, man, dating today on Tinder and shit, it's tough because fuck, there's a lot of
It's hilarious that
not
that's something you even have to question nowadays, man. Welcome to fucking 2024.
ah,
Riding with Biden and Trudeau. There you go, baby.
ah, yeah. What a
All right,
world,
last
man.
last
Yeah,
match we'll talk about, unless there's another one you got to bring up. Um, Artem is pulling Mendagas. Mendigas. I think it's Mendagas.
Lithuanian, yeah.
I think this is a tough match for Artem. And
Uh,
Artem takes tough
yeah.
matches. He's no stranger to taking tough matches. I don't think
He's
that he's at the level of Mendagas.
he's 40 pounds heavier.
I know.
I
I don't
mean,
think it matters.
no, Artem wins this. Artem wins this.
I, you want to bet?
I mean, I'll bet.
I'll
Yeah.
put 100 on it.
I'm
Straight up
not putting
100.
100.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay, hold on. What is the weight? Do we know what the weights are?
it says lightweight on the flyer.
So
Well,
that
no,
means
no, no. It says welterweight. So it's probably 185.
okay, because Artem can easily. I mean, he walks above 200, and the Lithuanian can pull 154. So maybe one walks around at 160 and the other one walks around at 205. I mean, holy shit! I hope there's a catch weight somewhere in there. But
Yeah, and I'm not knocking Artem. I think Artem is really good, but I think there's a big difference between being really good in North America and being world class at a weight like people weight in arm wrestling does not matter at this point like weight in MMA fighting. Like you can
yeah,
there's guys 20, 30 pounds lighter than me that will fuck me up. But if we were fighting, it would be different. Like there's Mendagas is one of the best lightweight arm wrestlers on the planet. He's proved
yeah,
who's been more active than him in the lightweight division the past 2 years.
yeah,
He's
for
been
sure.
wrecking everybody.
Yeah, but Artem is nasty. Like he's got some nasty skills. He's got stamina. He grinds. He's hard to beat. He fights fucking hard, and he's probably gonna. He's a much bigger man. And yes, you're right. The gap in weight is not as detrimental in arm wrestling as other sports, but it's not like Artem's a tier two amateur. this guy's a pro. Is he an elite pro at his weight? Maybe not. Um, but he's knocking on that door. And if he was a one trick pony or only a topper or only a hooker, I'd worry about him. But he can do a lot of things and he's nasty. He'll pull ugly. He's got stamina. Uh, it's in his home state.
Yeah,
Uh, Fuck.
it's a tough
I won't go
match.
100. I won't go 100. I'll go 20. I'll go 100.
Yeah, that's
I'll go
fine.
20.
Yeah, and it's and again, I hope Artem wins, even though he's a rental from Russia or wherever he's from. I hope Artem wins, and you're right, home field advantage, and that plays a factor. Whether people want to admit it or not, when you have to travel across the globe and you have a couple days to recover, and it's not in your backyard, it matters for sure. And I agree with everything you said. I think Artem is trending upwards, and the thing I like about Artem is he's one of those guys who was not a phenom when he started. Like he had that one video of him posing on that bodybuilder,
Yeah.
but he's not like a phenom. He's a
No.
guy who slowly climbed, and I agree with a lot of the way Artem trains. Artem trains very strict. He trains very smart. He trains things that actually work specific muscles, good angles. He doesn't train like he's not doing the fucking Devin Larratt calf raise, pronation lift. Like he trains
Yeah.
really smart. He's got a ton of side pressure for a guy who can top roll. Like
Yeah.
you said, he's real versatile. I hope he wins, but I think this is just a trap door for him. I would have rather seen him go against another lightweight,
Yeah.
like or even someone at his weight. Artem's the type of guy though too to accept every match, so I see why he accepted it. But from outside looking in, I don't love this match for him because he has like if he wins, yeah, it's a big win, but everyone's gonna say he was way
Oh
smaller than
no. Yeah, no, it's not a good matchup for him. It's never a good matchup because if he loses, he's a bum, and if he wins, well, you had 30 pounds on the kid, on the guy. So, but I'll say one thing about Artem. Um, Imagine the plums you need to have a podcast with a speech impediment in another country.
you.
Like,
Yeah,
like he's got a like. I mean, I wouldn't do that. I mean, he's got plums. He's got a ton of self belief, self confidence. He builds himself. He's resourceful as fuck, and none of this has a factor in why I think he's going to win. I just think that I don't think
well, it is a
Artem's losing.
factor. It is a factor. Like having self belief like that and being able
Yeah,
to
well,
back
yeah,
yourself. Like
of course, it's a factor, but I don't weigh that into my judgment because I don't think Artem with his skills, physical skills in arm wrestling, loses to anyone 40 pounds lighter. Period. I don't care who it is. He's not losing to anyone 40 pounds lighter. I
you
don't believe
should.
it. He shouldn't. He's a well, he's I know he's a fucking legit formidable pro at 198, and he's pulling a guy that 8 years ago was pulling 143 to 154. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. I think
and they're both the same height. They're both the same height, except that one is very very lean and thin, and the other one has more meat. And I just like Artem in this one, man. I just at home.
yeah. No, it's
Um,
not a bad take at all. Like
yeah,
I hope Artem wins, and I hope that Artem wins this convincingly. Like I hope he proves that he is elite at his weight and then some.
yeah.
I think if you took Mendogas and put him against other guys in North America that are elite at under 200, he'll dog walk a lot of them.
Okay.
Like this guy's he's a different type of dude. This is a real professional arm wrestler, not like a hobbyist like most of us.
No,
Like
no, no. So
he's all in.
yeah. If I say Artem pulls Justin Bishop, who do you think wins that match right-handed? Do you have Justin outright?
I'd probably take Artem.
Yeah.
Now that
He's
you
he's
say
he's
that,
a bad dude, man. Like he's a bad dude, and he's a wild card. Um,
it's a good point. It is a
and
good point. That makes me think differently because when you start comparing them and I'm rooting for
like
Justin, now you're putting my feelings against me. I've seen Artem pin Dan Mosier. I've seen Artem
yeah,
like Artem's got big wins. Artem's a good puller for sure.
and here and this will blow your mind, but he's 1-0 over Gabi's left arm. So take that into
Oh
consideration.
no, he's a legend then. Yeah,
Yeah, well, yeah, of course.
I'll never beat you
Yeah.
left-handed.
No, what would happen? Would Dan Blanchard give you a match left? Or
Dan Blanchard is the ultimate kryptonite for my left because Dan's been with me since I've been pulling. And
yeah,
Dan Not only is Dan's lane and his ability and his IQ, my my left right now technically is the number one overall left in Michigan, and I don't know how. Like I barely train it, but I've been beating everybody. My arm's way stronger than Dan's. His hand and wrist though is freaky.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I will not say that I would beat Dan, but I wouldn't bet against myself. And also, Dan's not
Yeah.
chasing me. Like Dan's
No.
Dan's done with pulling great big guys.
Yeah.
Dan's getting ready for Worlds. He's doing his thing. Dan and I will never have a match. Dan's left will always be better than my left. Let's put it like that. I will never
Yeah.
compare
For
my
sure.
left to
Yeah.
Dan's left. Dan's the
Yeah.
number one left-handed for Michigan, pound for pound of all time. So,
Yeah. He was.
like, if you took me and I was super healthy and 100 pounds heavier than Dan, might I beat him? Maybe. But who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
I'm
No.
100 pounds heavier than him.
Yeah. I'm just curious because his left is his hand and wrist are dynamite.
Yeah.
And I don't care how big you are, if you have a vulnerability in your hand and wrist, I don't care if you're 350, you might be in trouble. I've seen him pull an overall.
I've got a massive vulnerability in my left-handed wrist, and I don't know how more people aren't exposing it. I'm not going to go into detail about it, but I don't know how half the time I grip up with somebody, I'm like, dude, this guy's going to smash me, and then I pin them.
He beat a guy from Alabama or Mississippi in an overall big name. Fuck, I'm terrible with names, but he beat a guy that was about 6'6", 300, and beat him left. Of course, the big guy was right dominant, but Dan smoked him left.
Was it
Won the
BJ
overall.
Fukakis?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Dan,
it.
that doesn't shock me. Dan in an overall bracket is your worst fucking nightmare left-handed. Like, yeah, I can't say enough good things about Dan. I think Dan's left. I know Dan's left is better than my left for sure. Because if
Well, yeah, of course.
the thing too, like you say, can Dan give you a match? Dan's not training for me. If you said, "Hey, we're gonna put 10 grand up," whoever wins between you and Dan, now it's not even about being good buddies. Like, dude, I want the money, so I'm gonna train my ass off, and then Dan's gonna show up at 190, fucking way heavier, and he's gonna feel like a totally different human being. So if Dan trained specifically for me, he'd probably beat me.
Okay. Interesting scenario. Okay. Yeah. I got 100K for you. Okay. In this hypothetical, you and Kelly are no longer together. You're taking a year off. And I got 100 grand for you. You got to show up at a hotel room, walk in the room, and have sex with Elizabeth Ray Mossick.
Who's wearing the condom?
100K. Well, according to you, she's a female, so it's you, right? But it's 100K. We're gonna find out whether I'm right or wrong. Anyway,
I don't want any part of that. I'm not. 100K is a lot of money, but do I have to make them come?
no.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, how about this? I'll set it up. You and her need to go on. Well, she's with someone, so I don't want to do that. I would say the only way to really get to the bottom of this is for you to get in there, but this podcast has gone off the rails, people.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's been an hour, but I think we covered enough topic to probably get us banned or at least get us hate mail, which I'm cool with. So, hey, drop it in the comments. Is Mochek a man or woman? Tell us. If you've got pics or video to prove, send them to Chris, not me. And then we'll go over it next week.
Man, if arm wrestling has a transsexual demographic, I'm in trouble. Like I'm just alienated the whole group.
I don't think it does. Who gives a fuck if it does? I don't care.
Yeah. Hey man, I have one question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
I wanted to ask you this for 2 weeks. Who is the best professional athlete in any major sport? So basketball, baseball, hockey, football. To play, he could have been been born in any state, but he played for a Michigan-based professional football team. Who is the best athlete to ever play in a Michigan for a Michigan team?
Okay, when you say it like that, when you throw the word athlete in there, it changes things because the immediate answer is Tom Brady. Tom Brady's the most successful. He's the GOAT. He played for a Michigan-based thing. Like
no, not college. The major, so MLB,
majors.
and major.
Oh,
the major
okay.
four.
Major four best athlete. Oh gosh, there's so many to choose from.
and in my mind, it's not even close, right? Like for me, there's a definite answer. I just wanted to see what your opinion was and what the answer, because I
Yeah,
have no clue. I have no clue what answer you're going to come up with.
there's
I
multiple
just,
ones that come
yeah,
to mind when you're
yeah,
talking about pure athlete.
yeah, yeah. I
Um,
just know your answer is going to be wrong. I'm just curious what it is.
no, that's good. Um, the, yours is probably Ty Cobb or something. But the best when I think of athlete, when I think of a pure athlete, are we including boxing or just the big four?
No, the big four, just the big four.
Okay, big four. Okay, major team sports. When you say athlete, this guy didn't have the most successful career. He didn't really win shit. Um, he was just so dominant and so physically different from everybody else ever. I think at the position that I think he's the best athlete that, and I've seen him too in my lifetime, which I think factors in. For me, it's Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson is, I think, the best athlete I've ever like. This is a guy who was so freaky. He was arguably the number one overall pick in the draft, and he still ran at the combine. He put up combine numbers that were absurd for anybody, let alone someone who's 6'4", 245 pounds. He's the only receiver I think in the history of the game that no matter if it's double coverage, triple coverage, if you throw him the ball and he will get it at points other people can't. His body broke down over time
Mm-hmm.
just from taking such a beating because he was
Mm-hmm.
constantly double covered, triple covered, taking hits across the middle. He he was the freakiest human being that I saw play sports in Michigan at a pro level. Barry Sanders is like another guy who's freaky, but his athleticism was like cat quickness. But for me, Calvin is a guy. Calvin could have played basketball. I think if Calvin would have
Yeah,
been a basketball player, he could have been a shooting guard that would have been dominant. If he would have not been scared of water, he probably could have played hockey. Like this is a guy who's just when I think of freak athlete, if he trains specifically for track, he's built like Usain Bolt. I picture him as the freakiest athlete that I've ever seen. Now, who's the right answer? Who'd you say?
Tyrus Raymond Cobb, Detroit
No,
Tigers.
how did I?
Yeah,
We did not communicate. I knew you were going to say that.
I don't know how you would know that, but yeah, 1892 to 1907 for the Tigers. Uh, check this guy's bio out. I mean, look, he stole home plate 42 times. I mean, in a time he was faster than everyone else. He could hit with power. I mean, and just uh, played a doubleheader with a lacerated kidney, defending his wife. Two muggers got stabbed. They just taped him up like just a tough, tough. Now, is he the physical dominant specimen um, that you can like that you're talking about the receiver? Obviously not. But but I mean, define an athlete, right? What's your definition of an athlete, and what does that um, include? But for me, that's the greatest uh, career athlete, sportsman, whatever, in the history of Michigan sports.
Yeah, I know. I knew you'd say Ty Cobb. I just know you, Chris. I've talked to you enough to know that you would love Ty Cobb. Do you want to hear a crazy story about Ty Cobb that you might not know just because I'm a local? He kidnapped a bat boy one time. You heard about this?
No,
Yeah, he had a great day. We're talking 100 years ago.
yeah,
A lot of the times, bat boys back then were like almost like homeless kids. Like they weren't like the kids of people on the teams because they weren't traveling like that. We're not talking about where everyone has comfortable airlines and private flights. These guys are still taking buses and shit. So a lot of the bat boys were just like kids outside the stadium, homeless people. They give $1 or two. He had a great series at home with this one particular bat boy, and he thought the bat boy. He's like, "You're my lucky charm." He literally took this homeless kid with him, like, "Hey, you're coming with me on the road," which could be cool or bad. Thinking about it, like that, he just takes this random kid with him, takes the kid with him. The kid goes on the road with him, and Ty Cobb gets into a like a lull, a slow streak, and he just leaves the kid in the city that he's in.
yeah. Yeah, this guy had no conscience. Like this guy was he was definitely not a good human being, right? We're not going to kid ourselves.
No,
But I remember him. He would do drills on his own, sliding into second base, like tactically sliding into second because he can steal as many bases as possible. And he would do it so often and over that he would have blood, on his uniform and stuff like that, around his knees and legs and stuff like that. Like just a different type of human being. but an absolute bigot, racist. I mean, Georgia Peach, right? Played
Oh
in
yeah,
played for Detroit, but born in Georgia. And I
total
mean,
nut job.
a colossal piece of shit.
Yeah.
But what a ball player! I mean, had a
Oh yeah.
career average of fucking
He's
360
arguably the
something.
best player ever. If you go by stats from 100 years ago, you can't argue against that guy. Stats are
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Now, if you would have included individual sports, I probably would have said Joe Louis because, like,
Yeah,
we probably want to save this for another one, but I'm going to say it now. I think Joe Louis, what he did against Max Schmeling, and we're talking middle of like Nazi World War
yeah,
II, Germany, Hitler's
yeah,
supreme race, white against black.
yeah.
Joe Louis had lost to Max Schmeling, and then he has to fight Max Schmeling to get his title back amidst all of that. You talk about the pressure that a human being has to feel in an
Mm-hmm.
individual sport where that sport's combat. You have to go out and defeat that person.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole world, not just America and Germany, the whole world is watching. He wasn't fighting just for himself. He was fighting for his
A
entire
race.
race and his entire
Mm-hmm.
nation to prove that we're not less than. And he went out
Mm-hmm.
and absolutely starched him. And I think he knocked him out in the second round, destroyed him.
Mm-hmm.
So that achievement from Joe Louis alone, I mean, you can go on and on about Joe Louis.
Mm-hmm.
That achievement alone from Joe Louis, I think, is arguably the single greatest achievement in sports history. When you talk about, like, we got Simone Biles at the last Olympics pulling out because she doesn't feel great mentally. This dude went and fought a German heavyweight champion he'd lost to previously during World War II Nazi Germany and had to defeat him and did it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a different type of human being. So,
Yeah. In the same era, earlier, we're not talking 1945, but a little bit earlier, Ted Williams playing for the Red Sox took 2 years off to go fight in the war. I mean, this is the batting leader in the previous year, taking a year off to go. I mean, could you see LeBron James saying, "Oh, I'm going to take a year off the NBA to go
fuck
fight in the
no.
war"? Like they don't even fucking cross the road without a security unit. Like men are different, man. But when you go back, and I know a little bit of Joe Louis, but the balls, the courage, the pressure, the fear. Imagine the fear, the death threats. I mean, imagine after that fight trying to make it back to your place or worrying about your family. I mean, what an absolute uh, fucking courageous, trailblazing athlete.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
and dude, Ted Williams, like people don't talk about that enough. He took 3 years off in the prime
mm-hmm.
of his career.
Prime, yeah.
Like he lost 23 to 27. He was 23 when he left. He was 27 when he came back,
Mm-hmm.
and he was already leading the majors. Like he had like I pulled his stats up
Mm-hmm.
right here. The 2 years before he went to the war, he batted 356 and 406, and
Mm-hmm.
then goes to fight war for 3 years and comes back and has 7, 8, 9 straight years batting 350 plus. Different human beings, for sure. Not
Different
the not
world, different
not
world,
the
different
yeah,
world.
different world for sure. Whole
Yeah.
different world.
Yeah. But even that's not impressive as Joe Louis when you consider the racial tension and the threat he had and still going about. Imagine the threats he had to not take that fight, right? And yet he still did
Oh
it.
yeah.
Muhammad Ali went through the same things.
And with Joe Louis too, just another point. Not only like was he facing that threat from Nazi Germany, we're talking about the 40s in America.
yeah.
Most of the white people in his own country probably still hated him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was probably getting rooted against from a lot of people in his own country. Like I can't imagine feeling so alone. He was probably getting hate mail and death threats from people in his own town, white guys in his own
Mm-hmm.
town. And then he has to go out and we're not talking about playing one-on-one basketball. He has to fight this guy. And the guy had already beaten him. And then he
Mm-hmm.
absolutely destroyed him. Like that's a different for me, it just puts things on a different level of a human being when you're talking about all the odds stacked against him, the mental pressure. And then it wasn't just a sport; like it was a fight. He had to fight that guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he still came out, destroyed him.
Uh, yeah. The farther you go back, the more courage and toughness you see. But that's a that's an amazing story for sure. What a stud.
Yeah, yeah. I rack my brain about that, thinking a lot, like just randomly, because I'm such a nut job about sports and like what's the greatest achievement, and I can't think of one personally. I'd like to hear someone explain someone. We could talk about it on another podcast, but I'd I'd like to hear different scenarios of the greatest personal achievement. who like from people who love sports, what do you think the greatest personal achievement is? You know,
For me, Joe Louis is definitely up there, but again, the first black ball player, I forget his name. They
Jackie
did a
Robinson.
movie. Yeah, that's the same type of thing. Hatred, threats from his own ball team.
Yeah,
Um, you know, in a time where segregation and racism was at an all time high. And we're not talking the pressure to go out there and hit 320 with 25 home runs and 85 RBIs and steal 20 bags. We're not talking that type of pressure. It's a different realm, right? That you and I can't even begin to fathom. But fuck, you know, today someone would need uh, antidepressants and 4 therapists to deal with 1/10 of what that guy did. And do you think he did that? No, maybe he drank a bit. They all drank more back then, but
yeah.
that was the coping mechanism. But that's another tremendous story and tale of bravery by an mega elite, physically talented athlete.
Yeah, and it puts things in perspective of how pathetic most athletes are nowadays and how easy they are to pacify for the most part. Like this is a man that dealt with true racism.
Mm-hmm.
Like this man dealt with the worst possible vile vitriol you could feel just trying to play a sport. And now we have in football, they all they got to do is spray paint end racism in the end zone. Oh, Colin Kaepernick, what a hero. Colin Kaepernick, after he got benched and shit the bed, he decided to take a knee and he's a hero. Like these are not heroes. Like these are pathetic human beings clinging for relevancy, or they're staying on a soapbox for likes and to seem like a
Mm-hmm.
social justice warrior. LeBron James does not give a fuck. Colin
Mm-hmm.
Kaepernick does not give a fuck about any of that. He's doing that
No.
for his own
Self
social
promotion.
clout. It's just
Yeah,
self worth from
yeah,
him. Yes, he wants to
yeah.
inflate his own self worth. Colin Kaepernick has a white mom. He was the most
Mm-hmm.
privileged human being grown up of all time. He This man did not face true rape. He didn't get benched because he was black. He got benched because he sucked. Jackie
Mm-hmm.
Robinson got death threats, was
Mm-hmm.
probably assaulted, kicked out of places. The men nowadays who think that they face true attrition are completely pathetic to me when they put their
Yeah,
lives in perspective with people 2 generations before them. It's not even
yeah.
close.
I was watching last winter. I wanted to watch an NBA game, and I'm like, hey man, how come I forget the team? It was the Clippers, and I forget his name. Former MVP, played for the Raptors, and he wasn't playing. And actually, it was actually a playoff game, and or just prior to the playoffs. And when I looked under the stat line on the score app, it said that he's not playing not due to injury, but due to what's load management.
Yeah,
Took the night off because of load management. Like you play 82 games a year. Imagine a kid, a father and son. Father's not super loaded, so he saves up, or credit card goes in debt, and he gets 2 tickets, $800, and they go to a home game, and this guy's not playing because of load management, game time decision. And what a fucking weak sport
completely
culture.
pathetic.
Just pathetic. Getting paid 30 million a year, guaranteed contracts. They only got to play 82 games a year. Then they got what, 7 months off? Like
Yeah, complete joke.
unbelievable. Yeah, I
Complete
mean,
joke. And
just
we're talking about grown ass men who are getting paid a king's ransom to play a game. We're talking about playing a game. And I understand you might feel sorry, you might have injuries, whatever. Like, I don't mean to bring it up again, but we've talked about it on previous podcasts. My son wrestles. He wrestles when he practices during the season, he practices 5 days a week for 3 hours a day. And then he wrestles on the weekends. So we're talking 6 to 7 days of wrestling for about 4 months. And then his off season this year has been 3 days of wrestling a week, and he hasn't missed one. And he's not getting paid. At these practices, there's no crowd. He's had to tape his fingers up multiple times. He's got cauliflower ear, black eyes, bruises, shit all over him. And he still goes to practice just because he loves the sport and he's not a pussy. Like these professional athletes nowadays in basketball with load management, basketball is the worst. Hockey players will play through all kinds of injuries. They'll get in fights, get their teeth knocked out, and then go back in 5 minutes. Basketball is the most sissified sport I've seen the past
well,
20 years.
watch
It's gotten the
soccer.
most.
Watch
I don't
soccer.
watch. Well, we're talking about sports. I don't watch soccer. I respect soccer athletes for their shape, but I don't give a fuck. Like that's Fuck soccer. Same thing with tennis. They're in great shape. Fuck tennis. I don't want to watch that shit.
Yeah,
But basketball used to be considered a sport where there was actually tough guys in it, sort of. But now it is a complete shit show. It's a joke.
Yeah. I remember watching like on a Saturday night the Knicks play the Pacers and Charles Oakley was in the lineup, and there'd be some fights or the Pistons. Fucking Pistons, my favorite sports franchise of all time, late '80s, the Bad Boys, and you'd have fucking Charles Oakley and Bill Laimbeer, and then fucking they'd be swinging and clocking each other, and then there's a brawl, and fucking every
And
now you look at
their ratings have gone down. And
yeah.
it's because they're not letting them compete like real men and be. Now it's flopping. They had to institute a penalty for flopping because that's how pathetic they are. They fall on the floor for a foul.
Yeah, I saw refs tee up a player for frowning at him. Like, Jesus, after about it's like, I mean, refs are symptomatic today of what's they're in some cases they're worse than the athletes. Entitled babies, but anyway.
Yeah, it's the same in arm wrestling too. For some refs want to make it more about them than realizing that they're just officiating something that's for people's entertainment. So when you start trying to make it more about you or trying to make a spectacle of things, I have a problem with that.
And also, and I don't even think they do it consciously. Another thing with arm wrestling is when you go, there's like a trajectory or a phase, and what happens is when you realize that you can no longer compete at the level you want to compete at, and you're getting older, but you still want to be in the sport at some capacity, you become a ref. Okay, not necessarily, but so refs are former arm wrestlers. All refs are former arm wrestlers that either lost the taste for competition or no longer think they can. I'm not talking about the average guy that comes and helps a promoter. I'm talking like on the WAF level, like career refs. And what does that say about them? Like they've lost their plums, right? So do you expect them to make a hard call against Devin or Travis? Do you expect a controversial call where they might get some heat or it might be confrontational? They're probably not going to do that. And you see often that an athlete will argue and the ref will be like, well, you see Travis did this for a decade. You want a strap? We'll put a strap on. You never see a ref say, shut your mouth or I'm going to fucking foul you right out of this match. Like, I'm the authority here. You have no right to, like, I'll call the match the way I see fit. You don't see that ever.
It's very rare.
Or the promoter saying, listen, just, I don't know, but I can't stand watching some refs in any sport, but arm wrestling is of course the worst because they're not being paid, right? So they're not. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, and that's another talk too we can shelve for later because I agree with everything you said, and I think there's specific refs that are better than others, or ones that are more commanding or willing to make the calls that other people aren't. But this has been kind of a crazy one, Chris. I hope I get to see you next week after all the crazy shit that mainly you said, but both of us dipped our toes a little crazy this week. Mainly you.
It's an opinion. It's just an opinion. Okay.
Well, I mean, you offered me $100K to try to. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's going to be blowback from your wife, maybe. And she's like, "Who does he think he is?" Like,
dude, Kelly's going to make it halfway through this. She's going to come upstairs and be like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
Is she encouraging a 1-year hall pass? Like, what's the deal here?
Dude, I've never told a man to DM my wife. You ask her, all right? You send that shit to Kelly. I'll see you next week, bro.
All right, man. Have a good one. And
you too.
Yeah, no, have a good one. We'll talk next week later.
Yep, see you, bro.
Spartacus Project Podcast.